Okay. 5.1 is about triangles. Literally the next two chapters are about triangles. They're very important in geometry, in the real world also. So we're going to talk about classifications first. You know classifications in real life. Like you as a 9th grader are classified as a freshman.
Teachers, please pardon the interruption. This announcement is for tomorrow for varsity boys.
Oh, classifications. Like a frog, what do we classify a frog as?
An amphibian.
An amphibian. Okay, so you know classifications. Triangles have classifications as well. The first one, or the first kind, are classifications by sides. It is the first blank. So classification by sides. If you did your project, the scrapbook project, you've heard of these words. This first one, what do these tick marks mean? Congruent. So what do we call it when we have 3 congruent sides on a triangle? Equilateral. So go ahead and write an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle. The next one, how many sides are marked congruent? 2, which means it is an isosceles triangle. And then the last, how many are marked congruent? None, which makes it a scalene. So you'll see some blanks directly under it, like 3 bullet points. It says blank congruent sides means blank congruent angles. 3 congruent sides means you have 3 congruent angles. That's the first blank. 3 congruent sides means you have 3 congruent angles. 2 congruent sides means you have 2 congruent angles. No congruent sides means you have no congruent angles. So they go hand in hand. We'll talk about it again for like chapters. But here's the main thing I want you to think about. So if you have an equilateral, you have 3 congruent sides. So then how many angles are congruent? 3 of them. So 3 congruent sides, 3 congruent angles. So if it's equilateral, what does equa mean? What do we think? Equal. Lateral means equal sides. So if you have all equal sides, you will have all equal angles. What was it called when you had all equal angles?
Congruent.
Nope. Equiangular. So I'd write that in. If it's equilateral, it would be equiangular. Because again, what does angular mean? All the angles are equal. So what I want you to think of, I'd write that down. Okay. Whenever you hear the name Barack, you think of? So whenever you think of equilateral, I want you to think of equiangular. Barack. Because earlier I said I did not enunciate but, and someone thought I said Brock, which apparently is someone else. But if you hear the name Barack, you think of Obama. It's the only one, right? I don't know anybody else who named their child Barack. Maybe it means something. I don't know. Anyways, next one, classification by angles. There is not a blank for the classification by angles, but I would write it in somewhere, either on the side, above these pictures. But these are how we classify by their angles. So right here. So just write on the side somewhere. Classification by angles. Classification by angles. You can classify a triangle by its sides. You can also classify them by their angles. Here's how you do that. I want you to put a star or whatever you want to put. Whatever will make you look. You're going to look for the largest angle. The largest angle will tell you what the whole triangle is. If the largest angle is acute, you're looking at an acute triangle, so on and so forth. Speaking of which, we're going to talk about the first one. I think that this is the largest angle out of all 3 of them. Does this look like it is less than 90, equal to 90, or more than 90? Less than, we call those types of angles acute. So if the biggest one is acute, all of them are acute, which means this is an acute triangle. So if your largest angle is acute, it is an acute triangle. This next one, what do all these arcs mean? They're congruent. We just talked about this. If we have all congruent angles,
Equal angle.
equiangular. Good. Equiangular. And again, if it's equiangular, it is also, we just said this, equilateral. They go hand in hand.
How do you know which one to put?
You're going to classify it with both, so you should always put both. Remember, lateral means like a line, so equal sides, equal lines. Equiangular, angular means angles, so equal angles. Did I answer your question? Okay. This next one, what's my largest angle? The right angle. So if you have a right angle, this would be called a right triangle. And the last one, you could probably guess. Yeah, because this is my largest angle. Because my largest angle is obtuse, this would be called an obtuse triangle. So you're always looking at the largest angle. We're going to do the problems at the bottom. Triangle ABC has two acute angles, one right angle, and two congruent sides. It is a blank. So you're going to classify by its sides and classify by its angles. Which one do we want to do first?
First one.
I meant like angles or sides. Which one do we want to do? Sides, sure. How many sides are congruent? Two. So if we have two congruent sides, that makes it isosceles. So we've classified it by its sides. Now we need to classify it by its angle. What is the largest angle in this picture? 90 degrees, and we call that a right angle. So you could say right isosceles triangle. You could also say isosceles right triangle. Both the same thing. The only thing that matters is the last word. What should the last word be? Triangle. It only makes sense. The other two can be flip-flopped. Letter B, triangle DEF has one obtuse angle and no congruent sides. It is a blank. It is obtuse because we have an obtuse angle. And then we have no congruent sides, which also makes it scalene, yes. And then we flip. Are these like your gym shoes and these are like your real shoes? Is that what that is? Now it makes a lot more sense. Classify each triangle by the angles and by the sides. So we're going to do the angles first. What is the largest angle in this first picture? 60. What kind of angle is 60? Acute. So we know it's acute. What else do we notice about the angles? They're all equal, which we call equiangular. When we're talking about the angles, it's equiangular. And if it is equiangular, what do we know about the sides? Equilateral. So all these numbers on the outside are the sides. So it is all of the above. Can it really be classified by all these things? Yes. Just like you as a person, you are a male or female. You are a freshman or whatever you are. You have different classifications. You can have multiple things, okay? So basically, whenever you have an equiangular equilateral triangle, all the angles will have to be 60, and we'll talk about why in a minute. Literally, like 2 slides. Did you still have a question? Okay. This next one we're going to do is the top right. What is my largest angle? 79. Which means it's what kind? Acute. Because less than 90, you good? So it's acute. And then the sides. How many of the sides are congruent? None of them, which makes it scalene. Bottom left, this looks to be my largest angle. What kind of angle is it? So we got obtuse, How many sides are congruent? 2, which will make it isosceles. All right, and the last one, what's my largest angle? That 90, which we call right. Whoop. How many sides are congruent? 2 of them, which also makes it isosceles. So this is what I mean by classify a triangle. If you get these questions, if you get multiple of them on a quiz or a test, this is like me trying to give you a couple easy ones. Fluffer questions. You know what I mean? But this is about half of 5.1. So you have 2 lessons on the next test. So you'll have quite a bit of questions that look like this. All right. You're not going to flip anywhere. My slide does not look like your page, and that is okay. So I will be able to tell who's not listening because they will try to flip and find. So if you see these 2 pictures, we're going to talk about the interior angles of a triangle and the exterior. These blanks are where you're going to write what I want you to write. For interior, you're not going to write the definition on the screen. I'm just going to tell you what the interior angles are. You can kind of guess. Where are interior angles?
Inside.
On the inside. So you're going to say there are the 3 angles on the inside of the triangle. So the 3 angles on the inside of the triangle. So the 3 angles on the inside of the triangle. The 3 angles on the inside of the triangle.
I'm just thinking this.
Okay. Try to think in here. On the interior. Okay. The exterior, however, you're going to write part of the definition. So before you write anything down, you're not writing down this whole thing. If you look at your picture, your exterior, mine are in blue, yours are obviously in black and white. What you're going to write, they are the 3 angles adjacent to the interior angles. And I'll talk about what that means. They are the 3 angles that are adjacent to the interior angles. The 3 angles adjacent to the interior angles. And we said adjacent meant they share a wall. So basically what will happen, you have an exterior angle. It is adjacent to the interior angle. Can anybody guess what relationship these 2 angles will have? They're a linear pair. Good. You'll need that for tomorrow. So again, your exterior is adjacent to the interior. And again. Okay? So you'll have 3 interior angles, which means you'll have how many exterior? 3. 3 exterior. Okay? We'll talk about the exterior tomorrow. We're going to talk about the interior today. This is the last concept, I promise. The sum of the measures of the interior angles of a triangle is blank. What does sum mean? The addition of the measures, so the measures, of the inside angles. So what do all the inside angles add up to in a triangle? 180. Proud of you. That's why an equilateral triangle, or an equiangular triangle, let's see if I can draw one. Probably not. Prob's not. In an equiangular triangle, all the angles are the same measure, right? So how would you split 180 degrees evenly between the 3 angles? Divide by 3, which would be 60, 60, 60. Okay? So we'll talk about that more later on. But that is why this is the only way you'll have an equiangular triangle is if they're all 60. So we're going to do this. This is where the people at home, whoever is watching this, I have to write it out. So if you it is what it is, just so you know. So we're going to take our 3 angles, we're going to add them up, and they'll equal 180. This first angle, we don't know what it is. What can we call it? X. So we're going to take X, we're going to add it to 55, add it to 70, and it will equal 180. From here, we combine like terms. 55 plus 70 is 125. And that equals 180. My next step, subtract 125. So then x equals 55. So have we answered the whole question? No. We've solved for the missing angle, but we haven't classified the triangle. So let's start with the angles, because that's easy. What is the largest angle here? 70, which means it is acute. When you're classifying by sides, some people keep writing not enough info. Some people keep writing not enough info. It's multiple people. I just remembered who some of the people were. Stop writing it, because there is enough info. I promise you. I saw it a lot of times on the last test and on the last test review. Stop writing it. There is enough info. Yes, sir. Okay. Because I remembered that you were the one of the ones who did it. I also remember the person over here, but they didn't notice. It's fine. Sorry. I didn't mean to. Jace, what do you think we classify it by its sides? Why do we pick isosceles? They're not sides, but they're two angles that are 55. So if two angles are congruent, that means two sides are congruent. Okay, so that is also the classification. Both are your answer. Yes, sir. Why do I draw the triangle? Because you're naming a triangle. So you should write it. All right, next. We got 3 more to go, and then we work on our project. Solve for x. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add them up, and they'll equal 180. So I'll start with 55 plus x plus 74 plus 54. And what do they all equal? 180. Really? So I'm dropping down my x. Someone needs to add. What is 55 plus 74 plus 54? 183. It is 183. What did you do? You added 55 and 54. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I got confused when you said that equals, when you add those two together equals 180. I was like, that's not 180.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But plus x.
Yeah, I know. I thought you meant when you subtracted it.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask that question. Stop getting ahead of me. We're going to subtract 183. Let me catch up. So x equals -3. Can x be negative? Yes, especially when only if I plug it in. I get -3 plus 74. What's -3 plus 74? 71. Can I have a negative angle? No. So as long as when I plug it back in, I get a positive angle, then I'm fine. If I get a negative angle, then what would I think about myself? Probably wrong, yeah. I did something wrong. You won't see negative angles until Algebra 2 or pre-calculus, one or the other. All right, this next one, do the same thing. Add each individual angle up. So 8x plus 2. I'm going to add these together. What's 70 plus 60? 132. So you can combine before you make the equation. 130. Sorry. I already added the 2 in my head, so sorry. Guys, it's hard being a math teacher. You know. Go ahead and add 2 plus... It's like telling the end of the story on accident. 2 plus 130 is 132. Equals a 180. Subtract 132. 8x equals 48, just 48.
Oh, it's X.
And then x equals 6.
I thought we were taking it a step further than last.
No. You're talking about plugging it back in?
No, I was saying like, never mind. I said 6 equals 8x minus. Never mind. I took it a step too far.
I don't know. Someone needs to speak Jordanese. This is the last one we do together. It says, find the measure of angle A. So we're going to set it up the same, but what do you think our last step will be? Plugging it back in. Thank you, Maggie. Margaret. I like the name Margaret. I like it. You hate it. Okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I think it's a cool name. So sorry. X plus 59.
Plus X.
I can't call you Margarita. I'm recording. Plus X plus 51. Plus 84 equals 180. Combine like terms. What's x plus x? 2x. 59 plus 51 plus 84.
Oh, shoot. Oh, wait a minute.
It's 194. It's fine. It's cool. You know, you're just wrong. It's fine. Subtract 194. Redeem yourself. What is 180 minus 194, Ella? Your name is not Ella.
I have not got that far yet. I had to do the math in my head.
What's 180 minus 194? Negative 14. Divide by 2 and x equals negative 7. Do I circle this? I surely do not. What do I do with it? I plug it in. We want to find the measure of angle A. So we're going to plug it in for x. What will we say? We said negative 7 is your x. This guy. Plus 51, which is 44. Can you not? Once you've got that, you can go ahead and put this away. I'm going to tell you what your homework is.